observations, anything? Yes, I know you always have some questions to ask. I want to give others some opportunity. Yes? Imran Khan. Yes, please.
I was talking to some friends a few days ago about proving there was a God, and I told them about the Moses' prayer and about the people of Lot and what happened to them and other things like that. But they didn't, they still took a blind eye to it. And I took all the...
They tried a blind eye.
And I asked you a question a few months ago, and I went to that, and they still took a blind eye to it. So I was wondering if you could...
Those who are born with blind eyes cannot be shown. Nor can those be made to hear who have deaf ears. This is exactly what the Holy Quran means when it says, Sumun Bukmun Umyun. The most important thing is that you convey the message as best as you can, and logically and convincingly, keeping normal people in mind. If you are successful in doing that, that's enough. You have done your job. And the blind won't be able to see, unfortunately for them. But I hope they are not blind, only this temporary loss of sight. So don't reject them so soon, quickly. I mean, try some other ways, some other approaches, some other angles, and also pray for them. So if they're still diseased and have not lost their sight for good, inshallah they'll begin to see.
Jazakallah.
Rashid sir, would you like to take your turn first? Or, Dr. Sahab, come on.
Some days ago, I wrote a letter to His Excellency, the Ambassador of Pakistan, Tahir Archive Sahib, in connection with the recent persecution of Ahmadis in Pakistan. A couple of days ago, I received an answer from his Minister of Information, Mr. Aziz.
He is appointed to misinform people. I know that.
That's right, sir. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons why I sent him a letter was because of this misinformation. And I mentioned that really what he has been saying, it was untrue. And I have received a letter from him. He mentions several things, but I think one or 2 points require an answer. If you allow me,
please go ahead and read them.
I would quote him. He says that, thank you for your letter of 8th March 1985. First, belief in the finality of the prophethood of Hazrat Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Prophet of Islam, as the last Prophet of God, is a cardinal principle of Islam. Those who do not believe in this principle cannot be true Muslims. If the Ahmadis really love Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they should declare that they recognize him as the last prophet and messenger of God, as is written in the Holy Quran, and that anyone claiming to be God's prophet or messenger after him is an impostor. The moment they make this statement, they will be Muslims.
But what is he? I mean, he is nobody.
Yeah.
What is he to dictate terms to anyone?
Yeah.
I mean, what is his authority?
Well,
he is an ordinary paid person of a government which has no credibility itself. If the president of a government has no credibility, how would you treat the servants, ordinary people of that government? So, I mean, that is just a statement, a high talk, nothing more. Who are they to tell us what we believe and what we believe not? It is our own fundamental human right to declare our beliefs And also, it is we who know better what the Holy Quran means than these people. He doesn't know Arabic, he doesn't know the Holy Quran. He just conveying to you some hearsay. And he doesn't know what the older people of much higher status, some great saintly people in Islam, have already said on this issue and have exactly explained Ayat Khatamun Nabiyyin as the Ahmadis do. So, I mean, there's so much involved in it. I'm going to speak on this issue later on, inshallah, maybe in the last day of this Jalsa. And I'll take up every possible aspect of this question, inshallah.
Huzur, the other point which also would necessitate an answer, there are several points, but I think some of them are really, one doesn't need to answer them. It says at the end, if the Ahmadis in Pakistan live as Ahmadis and stop calling themselves Muslims, there would be no trouble. Pakistan was founded on the basis of Islam and not the religion of the Ahmadis, who believe that the 19th century founder of their faith was God's messenger. The answer, which is this last sentence, which says, no sect of Islam claims its sectarian founder as God's prophet or messenger.
So what? Because they were not founded by God's messengers. It's a simple statement of facts.
Yeah.
Because they were not founded by God's messengers, so they do not claim. Well and good for them. And those who did, they were destroyed by God. That is the point. They know themselves that so many false claimants to prophethood have appeared before. Those were the sects created by them, and they were wiped out of the face of earth by God, because it is He who is responsible for seeing to it that any impostor is destroyed. It's not the task of the military government to do that. So the history is known to everybody. It's an open, there's no secret about it. That people before have claimed and have been totally destroyed and wiped out. There have been so many Mahdis, for instance, not only those who claim directly in clear terms to be prophets, but Mahdis as well. Because to claim to be Imam Mahdi also is tantamount to claim to be a prophet. Because Imam Mahdi is appointed by God, and to believe in him is as essential as to believe in any prophet. So virtually they are two, one and the same thing. Now all the Mahdis who claimed and who categorically declared them to have been told this by God, to have been appointed by God, where are they and their followers? None is left, none escape, none survive. So that is the point. The one who did claim, and he was also true, he survived and his followers survived, and this is why they are making the claim, and you are incapable of destroying them. To say that nobody did make a claim, that is wrong. People made the claim and were wiped out. We made the claim and we're still there. So
yeah, I did mention this particular point in my letter to them, that we believe we are the chosen people and we are true. And
the point is that you should also write to him. We said, who are you to represent Islam? I have faith in the Holy Quran and the Prophet, and I have as much right to represent the Holy Quran and the Prophet as you think you have.
Yeah.
But I believe you do not have as much right as I have, because I understand the Holy Quran and you do not. Also tell him that as far as this question of messengers coming or going is concerned, that is beside the point. The most important thing for you to establish is, according to the Holy Quran, if somebody claims to be a prophet, what is the duty of ordinary human beings to on such an occasion, how they must behave towards a claimant. This is the point which has first to be established by the Holy Quran, according to the Holy Quran. Now they must establish first this, and then we will see whether they are behaving, acting according to the Holy Quran or not. Declaring us to be outside the pale of Islam, the very fact that they themselves are not acting according to the Holy Quran snatches any authority from them, if possibly they have had any at all before. Now the Holy Quran says, according to exactly on this situation, as I have been quoting the verses from a verse from the surah I don't remember, but the verse I remember. The Holy Quran says that when Pharaoh and his people were conniving to kill or murder Hazrat Moses, the big people of Pharaoh's time, they were gathered together in a session and were thinking how to kill him. Then a person who belonged to their race, their people, was not an Israelite. He had believed in Hazrat Moses but had kept it a secret. He went to them and asked this question. He said, "What right have you got?" He posed the question in two ways. He said, "Look here, in yako sadiqan, in yako kaziban, fa alayhi kazibu." Either he can be right or can be wrong. Either he is truthful or a false person. So if he is a false person, that is what you claim. His falsehood is not going to hurt you. Don't believe in him. That's all. If he is a false person, alayhi kazibu, his falsehood is going to destroy him himself. God is not a fool that somebody is claiming making false claims and he should destroy his addressees. So he said, you have nothing to do at all. Just don't believe in him. That's not all. If he happens to be true, yusibkum ba'dul lazi ya'idukum, then that which he has been promising you of punishment and wrath of Allah, some of it will certainly overtake you. So to deny is a very dangerous course. Not to deny does not throw any responsibility on the shoulder of the one who is quiet and behaves. But if one takes the responsibility of denial in his own hands and refutes a person without knowing the truth, he is definitely answerable to Allah. This is the teachings of the Holy Quran. No other interpretation can be made of this. You can throw a challenge to him. Take out any Holy Quran translated by anybody and see how these verses are translated. These are the only two courses left open by God to those people who are addressed by a claimant to prophethood. Iyako kaziban fa alayhi kazibu. If he is a liar, the harm of that lie would befall him and none others. Va'iyako sadiqan. But if he happens to be true, then you are finished. So that is the wisest course. Secondly, in this instance, nobody has any authority to declare anybody a liar if he says that God has spoken to me. Now, God is not bound to call first Mr. Aziz and call him as a witness and say, look here, I am going to speak to him. I mean, what they think God is? He is not a peer of the Pakistan embassy. God is the creator of the universe. If he decides to speak to somebody, he would speak on his own choosing. And he would not call any witness. even the highest of prophet was spoken to in private. No witness whatsoever was there to tell us that in the first place when he was revealed to him, we heard it, we know Allah spoke to him. And what is the value of these witnesses anyway? Because the most important fundamental thing to be remembered is this, that the prophet to whom Allah speaks, he is the most truthful person of his time. Any witness, however pious he may be, would be an inferior person to him in his truthfulness. So he does not require witnesses. But anyway, whether he requires or not, the point is Allah speaks to people of his own choosing without calling witnesses. Is that not correct? If that is correct, then how can you say God never spoke to him? You're a fool if you say that. You can say very honestly that I can't believe it. I don't know why, but this is my inner feeling. I can't believe. That would be a very sane attitude, very sensible attitude. But to declare that he is a false man, he is, this and that, as the Pakistan government wants everybody to say, that's extremely suicidal and very stupid attitude. There is not an iota of common sense in this. Allah spoke to Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Qadian or not 100 years ago. How does Mr. Aziz can tell us he was born so many years after? Or Ziaul Haq for that matter, or anybody else. Even those who were born in his time or before him, none else had any right to say that God did not speak to him. So how sensible this verse, this message of this verse is. We don't know. Allah may have spoken or may not have. If he is a false person, he will be destroyed. Not us. When I am not answerable for anybody else's life, why should I make such a noise? So all this attitude is stupid, meaningless. You held that answer into their teeth. They are employed for this purpose to spread falsehood, lies about Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salam, and this is where the Pakistani taxpayers' money is going nowadays.
This is what you say, sir, is entirely true. And he, as you said, he is giving misinformation to papers and so on. And in this respect, in my original letter, I did write to him, if I might quote, "Surely you know that Ahmadis have been imprisoned under various pretexts since last April, the latest one being their crime to uphold, declare, proclaim, inscribe and wear Kalima Tayyiba. These events have been reported in Pakistani press, even in the Pakistani section of British press. Certainly your information minister could not be devoid of such elementary and well-known common knowledge. If indeed he is ignorant of all these facts, the name Minister of Information does not behove him."
That's very good. Yes.
And with regard to calling us kafirs, I did write to him, "Mr. Aziz's letter states that according to Pakistani constitution, Ahmadis should not pose as Muslims in Pakistan. May I ask him the verse of Holy Quran and tradition of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam which give a dictator or an assembly the right to stop a people living their lives according to the tenets of Islam and then I go on."
Right? Yes, please.
As Hazur has explained, these governments and these authorities don't have any value at all. A friend of mine in Tehran, I found change in his attitude and I asked him what the reason was. He said, "The government has now declared you a non-Muslim." So I asked him, is this the only reason he is changing his attitude? He said, "Yes." I said, "Did your father hold a certificate from the government being a Muslim? So what was his status?" He just kept quiet. These things are just useless and the common sense does not accept them.
Thank you. Any other question, please? Yes, Rashid Sahib, just a moment, please. He raised his hand before you. Mr. Rashid Hayat. Bashir Hayat, huh? Rashid Hayat or Bashir Hayat? Bashir Hayat, yes.
Assalamu alaikum. This is not the same line of. This is not in the same line of talk we are already having. It's a different question.
Okay, any question, please. Yes.
Traveling by air is very fast these days. Would Hazur kindly advise us how we can keep timing and order of prayers if we have an approximately 7 hours journey, for example from London to a destination in USA, as during that period we are supposed to say 3 prayers if we started our journey after lunch and said our Zohar prayer in the plane after takeoff.
So you will not miss any prayer and judge the time according to your ordinary days. That is to say, keep the prayer time according to the place which you are leaving. And after you have reached your destination, then change your times to their prayers. Keep your own schedule, normally speaking, but there are possibilities that the events of sunset and sunrise come either closer to you or are pushed a bit further. Now in that case, there are clear indications laid down, so you must follow those indications as well. Have regard of that. For instance, if you have to say the Asr prayer and the time of Asr is approaching very fast, don't wait for sun to set before you start saying your Asr prayer. You have to say that before the sunset. And also, it is possible that the Maghrib prayer time comes before the sunset, according to your watch. In that case, if you know positively, if you can see that or you know it, then you cannot say your Maghrib prayer until the sun is set. These conditions are important and guiding factors. Within these 4 walls, try to say the 5-time prayers in a 24-hour so that you do not miss any prayer. And some prayers may be pushed closer, some a bit farther, but within 24 hours, you must say 5 prayers. No question of whether you gain or lose. I have told you the principles. That's enough. Yes, Rashid sir.
Right, sir, thank you. Some more small question. Is there any event in the history of Islam when religious liberty has been taken away from Muslims before recent unfortunate happenings?
In which way?
The way it is done nowadays.
No, never. In some ways it has been. And it always has been everywhere in the world. In every part of the history you will find instances. People, particularly the religious clergy, when they become bigoted, narrow-minded and intolerant, they punish those who disagree with them until, under threat of sword, under pain of punishment, they begin to say the same things which they say. For disagreement there has always been some punishment, some persecution. Never before in the history of man, anywhere on earth, has there been proposed punishment for agreement. This is a landmark in the history of mankind which has been produced, which has been created by General Ziaul Haq of Pakistan. You are punished for agreeing with them that there is no God but Allah. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is his servant and his prophet. This is agreement. And they are punishing you for this agreement, and they would be happier if we would say there are many other gods besides Allah, and the Holy Prophet of Islam is neither his servant nor a true person. Then they would be very happy. They say, now you have agreed. This madness, this rabidness never appeared in history before. You can throw this cherry to them, quote one single example where people were punished and persecuted heinously, inhumanly, for agreement. For disagreement, yes. Both in the Muslim histories and the outside history. You better write to him this about this in this way. Tell Mr. Aziz to quote a single instance of history where people have been punished for disagreement. Sword, even they say sword has been used for the sake of Islam. We don't believe in it. But for disagreements. Once they said La ilaha illallah, they agreed. So if the disagreement according to them is on Khatm al-Nubuwwat, why to punish on kalma La ilaha illallah? There is no disagreement. Yes, yes. Now it's between you, one after the other.
Eat, drink and be merry is the way that most people would like to live. But circumstances like social, domestic, financial and working conditions, etc. prevent this. Others have not any particular aim or goal in life. Those who belong to different religions.
Now just a moment. Which others? Some people have a goal in life and that goal is be merry. Would you kindly repeat your words?
Some like to have...
No, let's repeat the words. I know you have written it. You have got it written, yes?
From the beginning, Hazur?
That phrase which you mentioned, people like to eat and drink and go merry. Is that the phrase you used?
Yes.
Huh?
Others have not any particular aim or goal.
You call this a particular goal. And if this is a particular goal, who are the others who do not have any goal?
I mean, they just
they don't like to eat and drink and go merry, huh?
No, some people like to eat, drink and be merry and they want to enjoy life.
And others don't.
But some people just while away the time and they don't have...
Don't like to go eat and drink.
Can I proceed further?
Yes, after this pitfall, yes. Get out of it.
Those who belong to different religions have the object of life as advised by the teachings of their religions. Would Hazur kindly explain what is the aim of life for humanity as a whole according to the teachings of Islam and what are the means of achieving that aim?
Ma khalaqtul jinna wal insa illa liya'budun. The Holy Quran says, according to the Holy Quran, God says, Ma khalaqtul jinna wal insa illa liya'budun. I have not created mankind and the jinn but for the purpose of worshipping. That's all. And you can achieve the object of worship by worshipping. No other way. Yes, please. You have a friend with you.
Yes.
Would you like to introduce him or has he already been introduced?
I'd like to introduce him.
Is it for the first time that he is visiting
Yes.
here? I see, yes.
He's German actually. He's been over in Tempera College for 2 months to do some research.
Research on what?
Sorry?
Research on what?
Is it maths or theoretical physics? theoretical physics.
For how long has he been? Why don't you call him and please?
His name is Matthias. He's from Freiburg.
Freiburg.
Yes. And, he's.
How long have you been here in England?
2 months, and I'm leaving.
2 months. 2 months?
Yeah.
Just that?
What?
Just 2 months for research?
Yeah, no, I'm doing my research in Germany.
In Germany, that's right. Yes, quite right. I thought he was telling us that you have come here for research on certain subjects.
Pardon?
It's not here that you have come to study. You are studying in Germany.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yes, right. Thank you.
And
And how did you happen to know him then?
yeah,
How did you happen to come across each other?
we sit in the same room.
You're in the same room? At some digs?
Sorry?
At the university?
At the university, yes.
Yeah.
Huh? No, but he is a regular student here. His guest is not a student in England. So how could they fall together? That's the point.
He's a visiting student for 2 months.
From the university side, it's an arrangement between the universities.
Yes.
It's a transfer of students or something. Eh?
Yeah.
That's right. Yes, now it's all right. Thank you.
I just thought to introduce you.
Now, can you express yourself in English? And can you understand English well
Yeah,
to participate in this session?
most, yeah.
Not much.
But yeah, I don't know the circumstances and, for example, the problems
Right.
discussed in the beginning.
But we have got enough literature in German language as well.
Yeah,
And if you want anything, we'll be only too happy to give you. Any literature, anything you like. Or maybe if you want some cassettes to listen to in German language, I think we can provide that too. Have you received, Imam Sahib, some cassettes from Germany or not yet? No? Write to them and ask them why not. Yes?
He's going back to Germany tomorrow.
Tomorrow you can get them in Germany if you please. If you take the addresses of our missions there,
yeah, Nadim told me already that.
and that would be very helpful, won't it? You already have?
No,
I haven't
but
given the address
he will-
yet.
Yes, yes. Where do you live?
Freiburg. That's
Freiburg?
Swiss-French border.
Freiburg is, how far is it from Frankfurt? It's in the north?
300 kilometers.
How many?
300
300.
kilometers.
Towards Hamburg?
Yeah, yeah.
In the same direction?
The direction
That's right,
to
yes.
go in this country.
That's right, yes. So Hamburg would be nearer to you.
No, it's in the south.
It is Frankfurt which is nearer to you?
Yeah, yeah.
Not Hamburg.
No, it's just
Halfway?
Frankfurt is 300 kilometers, and then you have to travel in the same direction, double the distance.
It's in the south. Freiburg is in the south.
Yeah,
Towards Munich.
yeah. But
Nearly, yes, I understand. Yes, quite right. It is towards the Swiss border, is it?
Yeah.
That's right, yes.
French and Swiss. border.
Exactly, yes. Last time we passed through Freiburg, I remember now.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right, yes. It's mountainous,
Yeah.
near the Black Forest.
Yeah, it's a nice country.
That's right, very nice, beautiful country. Right. Yes. So Frankfurt is close to you. Not close, but I mean
Not close, but
accessible
not so
anyway.
far, yeah.
By German standards, if it's 300 kilometers, you should be able to do it in 2 hours. As the cars speed up in Germany,
Yeah, the cars.
Yes.
They should not.
so you can cover 300 miles in 2 hours, 300 kilometers in 2 hours.
Oh, I won't do that.
But no, not you, but I mean I've seen drivers
Yeah, they
making 140, 50 miles an hour easily.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
yes.
but they should not.
Yes, that's right. You should not.
Yeah.
How fast do you drive?
Oh, actually I have no car, but when I drive one, not much more than 100 kilometers per hour.
Oh, very
Because-
steady.
Yeah,
Right.
we are. Yeah, because you should not do that because the forest and the
But-
nature will suffer from it.
That is a crime in Germany. That is a crime in Germany, not to drive beyond 100 kilometers per hour.
No, it's not.
I mean, according to people, the drivers consider you a hurdle in the way. and they, hoot you and...
To drive slower.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a dispute,
That's right.
Something it's a crime to drive slower, and something it's
Right.
a crime to drive faster. So the nation.
But still, more people are on the side of fast driving. And if you drive slowly,
Yeah.
some people don't like it, they give you angry looks.
I hope that they will increase in number.
Yes. But I'm so happy you came here. I'm so happy you came here.
It's a great pleasure for me, because it's the first time I'm in a mosque, and
Yes, very good.
it's the first time I met someone believing in Islam, and it was a very new impression for me. So, thank you.
And I do hope it will not be the last time. I do hope
Yeah.
this first time is not going to be the last time. You understand?
Yeah, I understand.
That is to say, you will come to the mosque again, if possible.
Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
please. Thank you. Thank you. Now Rashid Abdul Rashid Saab Chaudhry.
Huzur, one of my MD friend, he is working in Karachi, and he has asked me a question to ask you, sir. His question is, when your immediate officer intervenes into your religious affairs and is making his life like a hell, what he should do? Should he resign from his job? Should he stay and tolerate as far as he can?
Well, tolerate as far as he can is the best answer. He himself has opened the possibility of resignation as well. So the best answer is given by him himself. Tolerate it as long as he can.
I'll write him that, sir. This one.
He has already written to you this one.
Yes, he has written me to ask you,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
This one hadith, Nabi, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said, Khalaqallahu Adama ala suratihi. Could you kindly explain that?
Yes. In fact, also there is a biblical saying on this subject. The fact is that God has created man according to nature, ala fitrate, and that means man has been created in a manner that he completely fits as a complementary to Allah's requirements, or God would completely answer to the requirements of man, as if they were made for each other. This is the ultimate of worship. If they were not made for each other, then there would not be any point in worshipping God. The worship would become meaningless. There has to be some union, some communion at some point. And that cannot happen unless you have similar natures. Now this is highly important. As they say in English, birds are the same feather, fly together. If you have your habits and your nature completely in discord with God's attributes, then you can never reach a position where you can come to stay together in peace. Closer you go to each other, more restive you would become, more discomfort would you feel. Because if you have a friend so-called friend, who fundamentally disagrees with you in his temperament, in his nature and habits, the less you see of him, the better. You will find more peace. The Holy Quran tells us exactly the opposite. It says you will get more peace with zikrullah. You go close to God and you will feel rest, otherwise not. That shows that initially, fundamentally, man is made in nature of God, because they were ultimately to come together. And this does not mean, now this is very important, what it means is all right. What it does not mean is this, that is not all of God. There are possibilities of a larger plate completely encircling a smaller plate. Much of the larger plate would be left out, and the smaller plate, which is built in the same shape, would make just a small part of the larger plate. A larger circle can have so many smaller circles within. The style is the same, and they go together in the style, in shape, in curvature and everything, but they're not equal. So God, when you conceive this idea that God has created man in his attributes, in his nature, it does not mean that man is an alternative of God. You hide one and make the other appear, as if they are one and the same thing. This is wrong. A very, very minute part of God's attributes is revealed to us, and that part of the attributes is found within ourselves. This is the meaning of this. Those attributes of God which we could ever come across, which we could ever require, those attributes of God have their counterparts within us, in our nature. This is what it means. But that does not mean that is all of God. God is limitless. I mean, no man can ever be all of God at all. I mean, whatever his status be.
Huzur, one observes that there are obviously very many overt forms of idolatry, but one particular form, which is a cult, and is especially seen amongst the so-called religious people, is that though they might firmly believe that they worship God and they apparently are sacrificing a great deal for their beliefs and their faith and their what they consider is in the way of God, but when a lot of such people are presented with clear, bright proofs, irrefutable evidence which does not support their long-held doctrines and dogmas, either, and this is the majority of them, the bigoted ones, they try to shut their minds to the truths, they feel as if they never existed, or they try to create a wall of irrationality between themselves and the newly presented evidence and truths. And they completely refuse even to listen, or even, at least in their conscious mind, even to entertain that evidence. The second group, who are more rational and more reasonable and open-minded, they would agree that, well, the evidence you are presenting, it is irrefutable, it does make sense, it is rational, but having accepted all that, they still appear to be too strongly emotionally attached to their long-held dogmas and doctrines, creed and sects or denomination. What I find difficult to understand is that, number one, when people who apparently are sacrificing a great deal for the sake of God, when truth is offered them, how can they reject truth? Because apparently in other spheres they are indeed sacrificing a great deal. Because the moment they reject truth, they become idolaters. Because
now, what do you mean by sacrifice? All that is too vague to me.
Well, by this I mean, sir, for example, certain priests, they might accept a lower standard of living, or some of them might be missionaries, might work in missionary hospitals or underdeveloped areas. They might give their time.
If that is so, that can happen in more than one way. Either they are too stupid to know what they are sacrificing for, and only they are brought up like that right from their childhood, and they have got fixed on a trail which it is not within their power to leave, and they never challenge those things which they believe as realities. So they sort of lead a life like a dormant thing, something which is asleep, which does not know what is right or left. This is not sacrifice, this is compulsion. In sacrifice, there is no compulsion. Sacrifice is this, that you know the truth as it is, having judged it, not that you have blindly inherited it and you have never challenged it, or you are not even capable of challenging it, or receiving a challenge against it. If that is the state of mind of some person, then such a person is not offering any sacrifice. He in fact is a sacrifice. He is being sacrificed by the society for something he doesn't know what. This is he is like a goat or sheep which is being offered a sacrifice by others. He can only be called to have sacrificed if he knows what the alternatives are, if he believes truly and firmly, and then he also loves the life which he has abandoned. Now if that happens, such a person is a truthful person. But it's impossible for the outside observers to find out which one is the case. To you apparently, as you use the word rightly, justifiably, apparently. Now what is apparent covers the truth as well as the falsehood, and behind that curtain we cannot peep. Only if you are very intelligent you can have a very good guess, that is all. But to know for certainty whether somebody is sacrificing or he is a big fool himself, that you can never know. Yet at times when you come across these people, when you think that you are in the right and the logic you hold is so strong that ordinary people with common sense do agree with that logic, and you have reassurance that you are after all really right, when you come across these people, then their attitude would throw some light on their inner life, on their realities. Then you will be in a better position to say, perhaps this is the case with them. The sacrifice is only apparent. Only the poor things, they are being sacrificed for something which they don't know. So, but still you cannot acquire the status of God. You must remain humble all the time and pray for them. Don't declare them to be lost as such. You pray to God that I think he is being adamant, I think that he is not sensible or he is not being honest. If that be the case, now I'm not coming to the honesty as yet. I'm just telling you the possibilities of his being an intelligent person, offering something in sacrifice, knowing the alternatives, having the choice and everything. Or in the other possibility, there is nothing to choose. He himself is a slave of some society, some circumstances and so on. In that case you can pray to Allah to guide that person out of that predicament, that difficult position. And Allah knows best, so if your judgment about him is correct and if he is honest, he would be inshallah guided to you. If he is a fool, well, Allah can turn the fools into wise people as well. But there is another possibility, and that is our dishonesty. A person can be hypocrite. A person can be consciously dishonest about things. He knows he is a misfit in other circumstances, in the other worldly affairs. He has chosen an easy life where he can also gain respect. You may think he has adopted a hard life, but maybe he is not fit for other life. So for him, this is the easiest course open. And he's ambitious, he wants to rise, and he wants to have some facade of piety about him. So if he is such a dishonest person, then you can do nothing about him. It's impossible for you, because Allah has declared it, He would not interfere in these matters. فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ مَرَضٌ فَزَادَهُمُ اللَّهُ مَرَضًا. The only phenomena that would occur is this, that more you approach him with truth and with choices of accepting truth, the more adamant he would become because of this dishonesty, and more condemned than before. So this is what I can say about these apparent possibilities.
Huzur, there is another group of people who are quite rational and sensible, open-minded. They listen to the argument and they accept the truth of it, and they agree that what you say does make sense.
But they cannot take a step forward. I agree. But there again, you are making too sweeping a statement about these people. They are rational and they have accepted the truth. The fact is that sometimes you accept the argument, but you do not accept the truth. For instance, if that argument occurs in a novel, the whole thing is just imaginary. If that argument within a novel or within a drama of Shakespeare, for instance, is logical, it holds water, any sensible man would agree with that. But at the same time, we will not begin to agree with the imaginary things as realities. Now, such a sensible person agrees with your arguments, with your logic, but does not believe in God, does not truly believe that God does send people. So why should he start believing? So such a person who is logical, who agrees with your logic, such a person should be approached, if he does not take a step further and accept Ahmadiyyat in this light. Then you should analyze him. Why? And when you begin to analyze, then more than one possibility would arise again. Such a person could be a cowardly person, a person who is enslaved by his society, by his habits, by the people around him. They pays too much importance to what they say of him. So such a person will dilly-dally as long as his belief in God has not tipped the scale off in favor of belief. If it's not weighty enough, he will go on, like a seesaw, waiting for his turn to come down, but he will never come down. So then begin to add more weight and more weight and more weight on that hard side of the scale, where his belief lies. And if you are capable of supplying him of enough evidence, and a convincing evidence where he cannot wriggle out of that, then ultimately he would believe. But if you are not capable of supplying him with some additional pieces of evidence, then he will always be hovering around, but just will not enter. Because on the other side the pulls are very strong. The social pulls, the pulls of the sin, the pulls of freedom, liberty, the pull of a way of life to which he has been accustomed to right from his childhood. How can you expect such a person to immediately
wean away from all these things and accept a new truth which is so demanding, which wants him to change entirely, to go through a revolution. So for that there must be very strong reason. And when you think that you are convinced, it's only what you think. That strength is not there, that is lacking. That strength of belief, which can be, as I have already said, we provide it to him through additional proofs, continuous addition to whatever he has already obtained from you, and much more so through the agency of prayers. You pray and then inshallah things will begin to move in the right direction if he's an honest person.
Most of the people in this group, sir, they say that intellectually they are convinced, but emotionally they have very strong pull, even though they realize that the ceremonies in the church and so on, they are really mythical now. They have no foundation in the teaching.
No, but again, that is only a relative impression. And they are not yet awake fully. Sometimes you wake up in dreams and you are still in dreams. Now they are traveling to truth in exactly the same fashion. They think they had woken up, but they are still in dream. If they truly believe in God as a reality, as their creator, to which they are going to return, to whom they are responsible, they are answerable, this will not be their attitude at all. Their attitude will be very different. And I have seen people in the West exactly change like this when they were really honest, and when they really got convinced ultimately, they completely changed their way of life and did not care a hoot for whatever people may say about them. So these people are bordering on truth, but they have not yet reached the truth. They are hovering around the borders. And again, as I have already said, they are people who initially are weak in their faith in God. And when they can compare religions, on both sides they are not strongly attached. Such people as Christians are weak Christians. And when they become Muslims, they remain weak Muslims because their foundation is not strong enough. And because it is so when they begin to leave Christianity, their reaction against Christianity is also very weak, because fundamentally they do not have that convincing faith in God. So the attraction on the other side would also become weak correspondingly. To the same effect, it would not be a strong pull, because the pull is given strength by the existence of God. Of course God exists, but that I mean to say is by the existence of God according to your imagination. If you have a strong faith in a reality, then of course it's not your choice, you will have to accept that.
One of the common excuses, sir, they offer at this stage is that, well, we accept the truth in the various basic teachings of Islam and Ahmadiyyat, but we don't care for labels. We believe as you do, but
we do not care for what?
Labels.
Labels?
Labels.
Yes.
In other words, what they say that intellectually we would accept.
No, that means they are getting rid of you, that's all. If you say, all right, call yourself a donkey. You don't care for a label. Call yourself a swine. Why not? You are a man, all right, everybody knows. So what is in labels? Attach a label of filth on your house and call your food done. Are you ready to do that? Because you are serious about these things, you are not ready. That shows lack of seriousness. A truth is truth. And if you are not capable of declaring a truth, then you are not a truthful person yourself. Then all that you are saying is false.
Assalamu alaikum. It is said in the Holy Quran that whatever is within the earth and the heavens is busy in tasbih. Most of the people do not indulge in the tasbih apparently, and they do not pray.
Right.
But how they indulge in this according to
that I have already spoken many a time before. On this subject I have already spoken, haven't I? In some sermons, Friday sermons, I have referred to this verse in Rabwa and also here in question answer sessions as well. There is a tasbih which is automatic, a state of affairs which declares something. If something is beautifully made, whether it itself is conscious of its beauty or not, to any observer it would appear to be beautiful. Even if it's not being observed, yet the fact of beauty will not change. It will remain beautiful, won't it? So that beauty would praise the one who carved that figure, if it is a carved figure. If it's a house, that beauty would speak highly of its designer, of its architect. If it's a picture, the painter would be praised by the beauty of the picture, of the painting. Is that not correct? So this is the meaning of that verse. Everything which God has created has the stamp of God over it. And if you have an observing eye, penetrate as far deep into it as you can, still you will see it is praising God and there is no fault that can be referred to its creator. That is the meaning of tasbih. And also the Holy Quran at another place refers to certain things extolling God, yet it also says وَلَكِنْ لَا تَشْعُرُونَ, or the words to this effect I don't remember exactly. Perhaps these are the words, but you do not have any concept of that. You cannot conceive it. Now this is a very important subject, the subject of conception about a thing can always only be discussed in relation to the consciousness of the conceiver. The same thing can be conceived differently at various levels of conception according to the standard of consciousness. And the feelings are also covered by this. Now, a sensitive person can be pricked and he'll feel extreme pain. And a less sensitive person can be pricked and he would feel much less pain, though the fact of pricking is the same. And the amount of pricking and the pressure of pricking is just the same. And yet, if you change that person into a beast, it may feel just a scratch. And if you still sink lower into the lower order of animal life, though the same things which appear to be torture to you may mean nothing to the lower orders of life. So the consciousness plays a very important role in conception. Is that well understood? Now, if this is true, then without your judging the standard of consciousness, you cannot answer the question whether something is really praising something or not. Now I have changed the previous aspect. Now I am coming to the conscious praising as you think nothing can praise. Now I believe personally that as you sink lower into the lower order of life, the standard of consciousness is diminished but it is not wiped out altogether. So we can go that far and not beyond. So how can we judge whether the so-called inanimate things have completely no sharing of that consciousness with life? This is a very important fundamental philosophical question which has been asked before and discussed before to no answer. Even the animals nowadays in this society are subject of discussion. Those who make experiments on the animals for the sake of improving the lot of humanity, they say that the animals are a lower being and they have less consciousness and they have less, much less feeling of pain than we have. So don't apply yourself in the same situation and judge our acts according to that. Animals are different, you don't know. And they say, how do you know? They're different. You can't think like an animal, so maybe they're exactly the same. Maybe they feel the same pain, exactly, their behavior, their reaction. That shows us that they are running away from pain. So in fact, change the species and you don't know. Even change the person and you don't know what's happening to him. So when you don't know anything about it, the only being who knows is the Creator. So when the Creator says that they are praising, if he means they are praising, then we must agree to this, that their standard of consciousness is different, but it has something of a consciousness. There is no complete break between life and death. If that is true, then it is a continuity of evolution of consciousness. At a certain stage, it makes a larger jump and the inanimate enters into the realm of animate, death into life. But to say that the qualities of life are a complete property and monopoly of life, and none of those qualities can be shared by the so-called death, that is a claim which we have no authority, no justification to make. So whether you look at it from this angle or from the other angle, this verse is absolutely above censure. This is good. Fundamentally, that answer which I gave first is an answer which should be acceptable to everyone. This issue is rather philosophical and deeper and requires refined thinking. But the other answer is just simple and should suffice you. Your friends would, I hope, understand. Yes, please.
But the subject is the same.
I see.
If Hazur allow me, I read both because they were written different dates. And subject covers...
Why don't you ask them on different dates then?
Okay, if Hazur wishes.
But he will not even say...
Now the subject...
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Should I combine both or should I ask them separately?
Please start. Whatever you do, start please.
As we are living in a society where certain things are not within our control, for example, magazines for adults and children, periodicals full of cartoons and even such programs on the TV which are contrary to any religious and moral thinking, would Hazur kindly guide us how the parents and elders of the community can help bring up a new generation to a high religious and moral standard in these circumstances? So if I read the other one,
yes, please.
Then I think
Thank you. Yes.
will help. It is difficult these days to bring up children to a high religious and educational standard. As the children of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih II, as well as the rest of the promised Messiah ﷺ family, attained a very high standard in this respect. And also Hazur was born and brought up under his care, I would humbly request your guidance on this subject from your own experiences.
You want me to describe my life history now? And that's asking too much for this short, light mood question answer session. Isn't it a very heavy question? And very lengthy, requires very lengthy answer. Don't you agree? Thank you.
Wanted to ask different opinions,
But you have got yourself ensnared. It was you who insisted that I must ask both these questions.
they're interconnected. So if I ask the different opinions, if the subject is the same.
Yes. So ultimately, you have to ask them together. Is that not right?
Guidance from the experience.
That is what I'm saying. I mean, the answer is requires such a lengthy statement on my part, looking back at my lifetime experiences and what happened at what time. No, they are all important to me. Any other question? Have you got any other question or not?
I have a little bit, you can answer some of the opinions.
No. Why don't you remain just stuck to the first part of the question, which is a very simple statement, that the society here is completely alien to the social values which we want to inculcate in our boys and girls. And the clash between the two social values is so strong and so violent that if our children get injured and they become overwhelmed by the social impact of the local people or the local society, then we would definitely lose our children. I mean, apparently we would lose our children. This is the great threat, isn't it? This is what bothers you. So why must you refer to me? Why shouldn't you ask a simple question, what should we do about it? Is that the aim? So pray to Allah to help you. That is the first thing. And second, you are told so many things about bringing up your children. There are so many lectures given at various occasions on this subject. And Hazrat Masih Maud Islam has also spoken on this subject. And there are so many traditions in the verses of the Holy Quran, and so many, I think, explanations given to certain verses of the Holy Quran which enlarge the subject, although the number of verses is small. So if you look at those verses of the Holy Quran in the light of those explanations, then you would begin to believe that the whole question is contained in the Holy Quran and discussed in various ways. So all this is a very vast subject, and my advice to you is to increase your knowledge and try as best as you can to keep your children on the middle of the road. But one thing I must tell you, if you try to win your children back to you after they have been attracted, have gone too far into the social system of the enemy, or let's not call it enemy, into a different social system, then it will be, you are very unlikely to win the war. Because once, despite the fact that you did not like it, your children took the step in defiance to you, knowing what you would like, yet defying your wishes, that shows the inner weakness in them. That shows there is some lack in your upbringing which is beginning to tell now. That shows your incapability. So once the children have been attracted by the wrong values, despite your wishes, then it is very difficult for you to win them back by yourself. Then you must look to the organization. You must look for help to the community, and through their help and through other means and measures as advised to you by the Amir or by the Khudam al-Anjekad and so on, you try to gain your child back. But most important thing is, don't let them go astray. How can you do that? That can only be done if right from the childhood you develop their tastes in the right direction. You tell them the right stories. You give them the right sort of attachments and preferences. If you do that from the childhood and they develop with those tastes, then the society which is alien to them will be completely powerless, because man is always directed and guided by his own desires and tastes. You have provided the boy with right type of tastes, and that is quite enough. That is the true guardian over him. If you want to force a system upon him without developing his tastes, without giving him the right preferences, then this is a lost battle for you. And this is unfortunately what most people do. They know that the boy's inner inclinations and preferences are directed that way, and instead of rectifying them, instead of giving him a better pleasure in the right direction, they force or try to force things upon the boy. If that boy is weak and small and powerless, all they create is this, that apparently he is obeying, yet within him a revolt is created, is unleashed. And that boy begins to hate both his father and the system. As long as he cannot afford to run away, he will act according to the wishes of the father. But the moment he feels free, suddenly there would be a change. And people think that this has become suddenly, out of the blue. It is wrong. It never comes suddenly. What happens is that the outer cover is ruptured. It is broken, and you have suddenly begin to see. The boy was always like that within. Only he was powerless. So it applies to the girls. So something is wrong with your upbringing right from the beginning, which has shaped the destiny of the child. And it is there which is you must be very, very careful. And also, if you are not capable of handling your children by yourself, before the damage is done, turn to your community, turn to such people who can afford to give you time, and take advice from them and help from them. For this purpose, Majlis Atfal al-Ahmadiyya and the Majlis Nasirat and things, they play a very important role. I have noticed that those who do not make use of these organizations and permit their children to defy them and not to care for them, if their children are lost, they are lost generally for good. But those who, right from the start, develop their children looking with respect towards these organizations, and they create such opportunities for the children where they can take participation, they can participate and take pride in the fact of participation. Such people, such boys and such girls are very seldom lost. Even if they are temporarily gone astray, they would ultimately come back to the right path and die on the right path, like the salmon, which must return to its origin before its death. So the right direction in the beginning, in the younger age, and creation of the right tastes, and the cultivation of that something special that is which in fact makes the color of life, that is highly important. What is that something special? What is the color of life? That is love of God. So the last thing I should say, I mean there's so many things about it, but I'm trying to be as brief as possible. The last thing on this topic I should like to say is that give them the love of God from the childhood. If you have succeeded in giving them that, that is the color which would work as their protector. That is the color which is mentioned in the Holy Quran as Sibghatullah. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ مِنَ اللَّهِ سِبْغَةً. Love of God means love of all the attributes of God. Love of God is a very simple and ordinary statement apparently, but in fact it is much wider in its application. When you love something, at least you love most of him, like most of him, otherwise you cannot love him. Some people go for power, some people go for features, some for habits, some for style of life, and so many things. So unless the majority of your likings are found in something, you cannot love that person. And if everything about that person is good, then you love him most. Is that not correct? And something, it happens the other way around. You love a thing, and that love sees to it that you love also the attributes of that person. This can also happen. That you first create a love, and that love creates a taste for the features of the beloved. For instance, once a similar subject was being discussed in the court of Harun Rashid, it is said, and one of the wazirs held that the mother who loves her child does not love the child only because that is her child. That love is so overwhelming that she begins to see the child as best, really. She begins to believe in the child to be the best. And she is convinced that she is loving the best thing. And the king disagreed. He said, no, it's not possible. You may love the most ugly thing, yet you have eyes, you have your judgment, of course, and you can know that that thing is ugly. The wazir did not agree. He said, all right, let's go into and make some experiment. So he collected a few boys, among them the boy of a very ugly mother who was, conspicuously ugly, and the boy himself was even uglier. And there were many beautiful boys and some princes and people of the high ranks and so on and so forth. And he asked the king to call the mother of that ugly boy and tell him to give some ornament which the king had given her, was to give to her, that ornament to the most beautiful boy she sees. So the king gave that ornament to him, maybe it was a necklace or something, and said, go and give this necklace to the most beautiful boy who you see in the rank and file there. And without hesitation, she went straight to her own son and gave the necklace to the son. And without any guilty conscience, she was just, really did believe that he was the most beautiful thing. So the love, if it is strong, it also creates tastes, even most difficult tastes, apparently impossible tastes. So if you give the child the love of God, although to begin with he will not understand the attributes of God, but he will grow up with that love, and when he begins to understand the attributes, he will also begin to love those attributes. He will not differentiate between them. And it's so easy. It's not difficult. The easiest thing you can do is to create love. And in a child, in a most innocent child, this is the simplest thing you can do. And most unfortunately, this is exactly the thing which people do not care for. They do not consciously cultivate this love of God in their children. So they grow up colorless, lackluster, without the most important feature of their life. So when you try to convince them logically, their logic only shows to them that this is what I like and this is what I don't like. So why should I begin to sacrifice that which I dislike for the sake of my parents? This is the logic which is to them the whole philosophy of life then. They say people, boys and girls, they are enjoying themselves in a complete atmosphere of liberty. They are spending the life. And my parents, old people, they want me to behave in a very different manner, without liberty, without liking to do, without permitting me to do what I like. So this is the simplest philosophy that they know then. How can you fight it? Already you have lost your battle. So fundamentally, the most important single factor which can work in your favor in bringing up of your children is the creation of love of God right from the childhood. If you succeed in doing it, you will never lose your battle, inshallah. Enough? Huh?
Not a question, but just want to say a word regarding...
Say the word sitting, please.
Hazur has pointed out that...
And it is more than a word. Is it not?
I should thank you very much, but Hazur, I request you to express my feelings.
You request me to express your feelings. How can I do it? It's impossible. Express your own feelings.
But I wanted to say one or two words.
You already said more than one or two words. You have said quite a few words. Kareem, no? You think so? All right, tell me, what is it which is bothering you?
Wanted to say that by grace of God, myself and my wife, we have labored on for this purpose, and we are happy today that by grace of God, all my children, they are saying their prayers and they are very obedient, and I am quite happy
Alhamdulillah.
How they are behaving in the community also.
Very good. So instead of asking me, you should have told your own experiences. Assalamu alaikum.